Welcome to the Black Country Business Podcast. I'm Andy Hemming.
And I'm Lewis Hayden.
Today we're going to be talking about higher vision, higher profits. How putting a great vision in place in your business can lead to more alignment from your team and consequently much higher profits in your business. Stay tuned to find out how. So higher vision, higher profits. I mean, why is vision important? I think before we go into that, we probably need to think about the 4 stages of business, because I think that's pretty pertinent here. If you jump onto the internet and you look at the 4 stages of business, it talks about startup growth, maturity and decline. Now, I don't know about you. Startup and growth, they sound okay. They sound like quite exciting things, don't they?
Yeah, I'm not too sure about maturity and decline. Though. That's like an aging cheese getting mouldy, isn't it? That one.
So yeah, startup, exciting. I'm out there to prove my concept. Growth, whoa, that's fantastic. The concept's working. Let's do more of that. Maturity, yeah, I'm getting old. Decline, now I'm dead. Cool, fantastic. I am now really excited about moving out of that growth.
Yeah, if you're that excited, can you just imagine how excited your team are?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's bring it on. So I think it's really interesting though, isn't it? Because I mean, if we go back and pull that apart a bit, that startup phase, I mean, we've all been there. We start a business and it's moving away from pain, isn't it? We have that entrepreneurial seizure, as Michael Gerber calls it. We think, okay, what is the vision here? The vision is I can go away and stop working for this idiot, go and do it for myself and probably make just as much money and might have some more free time. That's probably the vision. Might not be that high to start off with. But really that whole startup phase is about, we've got to go out, we've got to prove our concept, and we've got to not look like an idiot in front of our friends and our family, right? So as soon as we've proved it, then we go into that growth phase, and growth's quite exciting. Growth's about bigger and better. Bigger holidays, better house, nicer car. That is quite exciting for a while, I think. But then what happens?
Well, that's if you can go through to that 3rd stage, Andy, because a lot of business owners that I speak to, and before they're going to any sort of coaching process, it's like, well, why do I want to grow my business? Because if you think about it, they do go into business for more money, more time.
Yep. And
when they're actually in the business, they're such the expert that everything has to run through them. The Superman syndrome. They're running around with the red pants on.
Not uncommon.
Yeah, exactly. So what's going to happen then? Well, that's going to eat into your time, isn't it? So why do you think they don't want to grow the business? Well, because that correlates to spending more time in the business, and that's already eating into my family time.
Yes.
So how do you do it without actually taking more of the time away? Well, we need to talk about leverage, don't we? And for me, that needs to be that consolidation stage. Yeah.
I mean, if we don't start thinking about that, then we're just on a collision course with burnout. How many business owners have we met over the years that have kind of carried on growing and then just lost sight of why they're doing their business, lost energy, lost motivation for it, not excited about doing it anymore, and consequently just going through the motions, really.
That's right, just turning up every day on the treadmill.
Yeah.
Like a job, though. But in all honesty, to be fair to everybody, we only know what we've experienced so far. If we've been taught the 9 till 5 from schools, put the hours in, get the good grades, then that's what most business owners.
Yeah, very much so. So, we've moved away from pain. We've gone through this startup phase. In terms of old Maslow's hierarchy, we've done the food and shelter bit. And then we've got a team on board, and we might have done a bit of community. But we're still running fast, and we still haven't got time to enjoy the money that we've created, because it's all about more, but that's not exciting anymore. So then we need to reframe that whole maturity and decline thing, don't we? I mean, really, it's about decision now. It's not about moving away from anymore. It's about moving towards. And that's where the vision comes in. Because if you go right up to the top of Maslow's hierarchy, he talks about self-actualization, and the level below that is about esteem. And what we're really talking about now is bigger than self, and service, because ultimately all of us were put on the planet to serve some way or another. So we can either serve ourselves, which is quite selfish and short-sighted and probably only takes us just out of pain, or we can go and really think about, you know, if we hold ourselves out as pretty good at what we do, how many people can we serve? What would that business need to look like? And that's where the vision comes in. What are your thoughts?
Well, this is it. If you look at the most successful businesses out there, they didn't just end up with a successful business overnight. It came from something. And the more people that you go out there and serve, that's how you become successful. Because think about business, it's just about getting the money in the door. Well, that money comes in the door from helping more people get to where they want to be, whether that be a product or a service. So, yeah, I think you're going towards what's your why here, Andy, as well. What do you offer to the world? You've already said it then about the idea of self-actualization. What is it that you go out there and you contribute to the world with? And if you start thinking like that, then it just goes beyond self. Then it goes to like, okay, how do I build a team that have the same sort of values and that same why as me and that same sort of vision of wanting to help more people? And that's when you look at these larger firms, take Google, for example, yeah, well, look at their why and look at their vision. Look at Apple's vision.
Yeah.
Make a dink in the universe was Steve Jobs' vision.
That's right, absolutely.
Yeah, and how inspiring is that to people who want to go and work at Apple?
Yeah, and I think the thing is, you know, I mean, I remember when I first started this business, I suppose, I did write the vision down for my own business, but it was something that I didn't used to talk to clients about quite so much. And I think, you know, in my head I had it as something that corporates had. But here's the thing, now I go back and rethink this thing. Do big corporates start with a vision and become big corporates? Or do they become big corporates and then write a vision? I wonder. No. The thing is, if in the absence of that vision, it's like getting in your car and going for a drive with no idea where you're going.
Yeah.
And how many people do that in their business? I mean, we see that all the time, don't we? So for me, the bigger the vision, the lower the problems that we encounter along the way. Back to your point, you know, on that values thing. I mean, if I look at why I got into this business, actually, people say, what's your why? And it seemed like a real navel-gazing question to me, you know. And I remember the first time somebody asked me that, and I thought, I haven't got a bloody clue what my why is, quite frankly. I don't know what you're asking me. But there's a pretty simple way to find it, because, in the most part, it stares us in the face. It's so obvious. You know, if I look at my values, for example, balance has always been really important to me. So I've never wanted to work 5 days a week. I've always wanted to have a really cool business that I can do in 3 days a week, have a couple of days a week for me and a couple of days a week for my family. And then that keeps the whole thing sorted out. Secondly, personal development. I'm absolutely buzzed up by learning and becoming better, having more knowledge, because then I can share it with more people. And number 3, I'm pig-headed, so resilient as heck. If I don't get what I want, I just get up and keep going until I do. So if I put those 3 things together, the balance, i.e. I went into business to create more balance and more time for me and my family, more freedom. The personal development, if I get better, my life will get better. And number 3, I refuse to give up. Put those 3 things together and my why stares me in the face. It's very simple, actually. If I can transform my life, I can help other people transform theirs. Now, if I become good at that and can attract like-minded people into the business, like you, who also want to go on that journey, how many more people can we help to transform their life? So our why very often springs out of our values. Why wouldn't it? Because that's the way we see the world. And as a result, then if that's the way we see the world, how many other people might see the world that way and therefore want to be helped to go on that journey? And I think that's why it's always bigger than self and this idea of service. But it is quite obvious, actually. What do you reckon about that?
No, it's really interesting, Andy. Well, I've got one big question for you. As a business owner, how is this going to make me more money?
Great. That's a good question, isn't it? So I think the thing is, you know, if I can run you through the thought process in in my business, it would be very easy to think small, wouldn't it? The analogy that I use is, back in the days when it was just me as a coach, I only ever had to think about the next meal. So I had to go and find a client when I needed a client, and if I decided I wanted to grow and make more money, then I just needed to go out and get a few clients. But now, actually, when we start thinking about the vision, and the vision is to add value to every single business owner in our territories, whether they work with us or not, that's 25,000 businesses.
Across the Black Country.
Across the Black Country. We have to think differently here. So it's not just about going out and finding the next meal anymore. It's about building a restaurant that provides meals day in, day out to as many people as want to come and eat them. Now, what does that do in terms of thinking about the strategy of the business? We don't create marketing for one person anymore. We create marketing for thousands of people. We have to take different actions. We have to think in different ways. If we're committed to that vision, then the obstacles that we hit on the way, and we hit plenty of them, become slightly inconsequential, actually, because we're so committed to the vision. So if we're committed to the vision, we're going to take more actions quicker, better, and as a result of those quicker, better actions, we're going to spend some money, we're going to find some stuff that doesn't work, and we're going to find lots of stuff that does work, but we're going to do it faster. And as a result, the business starts to grow, and because we test and measure against it in line with our vision, actually we stop doing the stuff that doesn't work and we do more of the stuff that does, and therefore profit improves as a result.
That's right, yeah. I mean, with that strong vision, let's talk about individual to start with. So you guys out there listening as business owners, well, if you had a clear vision, just think how quickly you could make decisions. Now, I coach a lot of business owners throughout the weeks, and the amount of time people come up with these roadblocks of why they couldn't do something or move forward, and they want to discuss things and stuff. And it's as simple as this: if you're so clear on your vision and know where you're going, that decision would be done.
Completely.
Move on to the next one, move on to the next one.
Yeah.
So rather than having one roadblock, there's possibly 10, 50, 100 roadblocks that could possibly get in the way. But with that clear vision, the decisions get, right, I'm doing this about it, I'm doing this about it.
Yeah.
So that does really allow you to take that sort of 10x action around that as well.
Yeah, it really does. Yeah, absolutely. I think the thing is, we've got a couple of choices, haven't we? We know if we choose to grow, we're going to have to get out of our comfort zone. Yeah. And if we're going to get out of our comfort zone, we're probably going to have to experience some fear along the way, because anything other than same is slightly scary, because we're growing or doing different stuff. Now, the thing is, if our vision isn't big, then our level of dissatisfaction of being where we are won't be big either, because we got no different reference point as to what different could look like. Huge vision, if we're not there yet, we're going to be dissatisfied if we're committed enough to the vision. But if we don't have any vision as to how it could be different, the level of dissatisfaction is probably going to be pretty low. So then any roadblock we come into contact with, well, that can just stop us from moving forward, because there's no better place to be.
That's right. And what you're talking about there is setting the RAS as well, isn't it?
Yeah. So you better explain what the RAS is.
Yeah, before we just think, what's that strange word that sounds like ass? It's RAS is reticular activating.
Sometimes you have to kick your ass.
So the RAS is the part of the brain called the reticular activating system, and that looks for signals that show us the way we're going. So if we're setting our compass heading towards a certain vision, we're going to look for evidence in our world. And imagine the bits of information you get just travelling to work. Yeah, all the advertisements on the radio, all the signposts and everything, all the billboards. But let's say we've got that vision so clear that we know where we're going, that we finally see the information, say something comes up on the radio, or maybe this podcast, for example. Yep. You guys are listening to this podcast right now because you have tuned your RAS towards your vision of what your version of success looks like.
That's right. So what that means is you'll find more evidence of the stuff that will help you get there.
Yeah.
And just delete the stuff that doesn't.
That's right.
We get what we focus on ultimately.
Yeah.
So the clearer our vision, the easier it is for our brains to find stuff to help us along the way, I suppose. And if you haven't got that vision, then all you're doing is finding stuff to help you stay where you are.
Spot on. That's right. And here's the other thing as well. This goes beyond you guys listening as business owners too. Think about your team. Yeah, one of the biggest challenges we hear from business owners is talking about team engagement.
Yeah.
Yeah. When we look at the statistics around team engagement, 8 out of 10 employees are disengaged.
Yeah.
That means they're just turning up to your workplace because it's a job. They sit there, they wait for the clock to reach 5 p.m. and they go. With every great intention, by the way, because they're doing the job.
Yeah.
But do they really want to see that business pushed? Do they really want to see you as the business owner being more successful and that business being successful and the team being successful?
Well, that's right. And I think that the key thing there is, isn't it? You know, if you're sitting there as the business owner listening to this, you're the MD. And there's 2 parts to MD, managing and director. So director is what direction are we going in? And surely vision is part of that direction. So if I were to come into your business right now and say to everybody, what's the vision for this business? What are the core goals for the next 5 years, 12 months, 3 months? Would they be able to give me a coherent answer? Secondly, would they know their part in it? And would they be excited about going there with you? You know, and then in terms of the culture of the business, you know, do they know how they're allowed to behave in line with your expectations of where you're going? So can they ask questions about, is what I'm doing on purpose here, or is it not on purpose? Am I behaving in the right way, or am I not behaving on the right way? That's the direction part of it. Then there's the managing part of it. You know, if you haven't talked to people about vision and where you're going and why would they be excited about it? Why would they want to be managed towards it? Why would they want to take ownership of their part in it if they don't know where they're going and they're not excited about it? Now, how many people do we meet that miss out on all those key?
Oh, huge, and there's massive amounts of money to be made from just getting clear on that. Could you imagine as well how many people out there right now are recruiting? Yeah, coming out of coronavirus, businesses are getting back into their new normal.
Yeah,
and they're recruiting more people. But what would happen if you recruited somebody that wasn't aligned to your vision?
Absolutely.
They're just there for a job.
Logic and emotion, isn't it? I mean, you know, if you're only selling the job, then chances are you're competing on price, i.e., are you paying the highest salary?
Yeah.
Whereas if we're selling the vision of the business and people get excited about it, they want to be on your bus. It's not about price, salary anymore. It's about, that's me. That's who I am. I want to be on that journey. You know, I'll never forget one of the clients that I still work with, actually. It was their first key hire in their business. And we did a group interview and we talked about the vision and the values of the business. And I think the role that we were interviewing for was about an 18 grand a year job. And in this group interview, there were 4 people. And there was a lady in there and she was earning 25 grand a year in her current job. And because she was so excited and so bought in about the vision and the values of this business, she was prepared to take that 7 grand a year pay cut and come and work for 18 grand just to be a part of that.
Well, why
business.
wouldn't you? Why would you want to get out of bed every morning to go and do something just for money?
Well, that's the point, because actually, if she was that bought into the business, she'd come and do the job at 18 grand. How excited was she to be there? How much is she going to be thinking about how she can improve her part in it? How much more money is she going to make the business as a result of that? How quickly do you think she's going to be back up to 25 grand again? Because she's contributing extra. Now, as business owners, that's why we have a team, isn't it? To create leverage. You mentioned it right at the top end of this. So why aren't we giving our team members enough information in terms of, this is the vision, are you on board? This is your role in the vision. Are you prepared to take ownership? It's crazy. So it's obvious how this stuff leads to higher profits.
That's right. Now, we've spoke about recruitment, we've spoke about management of team, we spoke about the leadership side, spoke about you guys as business owners getting clear on where you want to go to. So What else is there to do with vision when it comes to making more money? Well, here's an example. You started with the 4 stages of business. This is where I'm going with it. Yeah. Well, let's say you've gone through that consolidation stage. We've started to leverage the business. When do we know to quit or not? When do we go, right, okay, this is the end of it now. I'm ready. I'm going to sell my business and I'm going to get this much value for it.
Mm-hmm. Well, what are your thoughts?
Well, if we look at we've got the 4 stages up here. Well, we can either choose to go and buy more businesses. Mm-hmm. Is that part of our vision?
Could be.
Do we want to have the life where we could just have that business provide for us? Do we sell it?
Yep.
Do we grow it even more?
Do we replicate it?
Yeah. And also, time. When do you want it by?
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah.
You know, I think we our definition of a business, a commercial, profitable enterprise that works without you.
Yeah.
You know, that's a pretty good vision in itself, isn't
If
it?
you wanted to, it's all about choice.
Yeah, of course it is. And for me, you know, if that's something that you want, that would be a pretty good personal vision. When will you have that commercial, profitable enterprise that works without you? Now, don't expect your team to get excited about that. Well, they might get excited about it. It depends how
Depends how much
what
they
think
like
of you.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you know, our personal vision should drive into our business vision, should drive into the decisions we take in our business and the actions that our team take to help us get there. So for me, you're very, very right. You know, you've got to start with the end in mind and plan backwards, whatever that end is. Mm-hmm. And by the way, it doesn't really matter because that stuff might change over time. But ultimately, you've got to exit your business at some point. So, it has to work without you, because if it doesn't, you're going to close it. And if you do close it, then all you've ever done is exchange 1 year's work for 1 year's profits. Whereas if you could sell it, you might be able to exchange those years' work for multiple years' profits. And if it works without you, you'll get even more years' profits. You know, you could sell this thing for, well, we had an example a couple of years ago where we sold a company for 27 times profit multiple.
Yep.
So 27 years' profits. I mean, why wouldn't you do this stuff, make the business work without you? So your personal vision should always be that. The lasting vision of the business should be the thing that makes that business continue whether you're there or not. You know, Apple's dink in the universe is still their vision. How many times has their leadership changed since Apple came along? You know, so for me, personal vision and business vision are just as important as each other.
Well, this is right, Andy. And I mean, we always start with vision, and this is why it's episode 1. And you start to break that down and go, right, okay, well, who do you need to become? And what sort of things do you need to do to be the person that can achieve that vision?
Very much so.
So let me start to break that down even more. Well, what goals do we need to achieve by year 1? 90 days, 30 days, 1 week, 1 day.
Yeah.
And if it was to go up the other way from vision, well, what's bigger than a vision? A legacy.
Yeah.
Yeah. How inspiring is that to create a legacy that you're going to be the person that all started with that vision once upon a time, made it happen, and then created that thing for your family.
Absolutely. And I want to wrap this back around to that idea of service as well, because, as I say, we're all put here to serve at one level or another. However you choose to wrap it up in your why and your vision and all that kind of stuff, that's what we're here for.
Yeah.
So the reason that you started your business in the first place, let's take you right back to that startup phase, was probably because you thought you were pretty good at what you did. Mm-hmm. Now, why grow a business? Apart from the fact that it gives you more, there's another reason, isn't there? How many people are out there in your marketplace doing what you do, but they don't do it very well? Now, if you think about your customers now, how many of them are really well educated in what you do and therefore can make really good buying decisions about what you do? And the answer to that is usually not many. So if you hold yourself out as being really good at what you do, and you also recognise there are people out there doing what you do that aren't very good, don't you owe it to your prospective customers to start thinking bigger than yourself, to go out there and educate that marketplace so that they know what good looks like? And if you did go out and do that level of education so that they could make better decisions on what good looks like, what do you think your business would look like? And we call that the law of precession, because, if you go out and serve that many people, how much more money do you think that business would generate? And as a result, how far away from pain do you think you now are? You can lose multiple clients in that business and it not hurt anymore. Whereas in the growth stage, lose one key client, it's probably you're back in pain again. So for me, that whole idea of service and serving bigger than self and getting up to that top level of Maslow's hierarchy not only inspires and enrolls people to be on your bus with you, to take ownership of helping you to get towards those results, but also takes you so far away from pain that it's very difficult to go back into it again, and changes marketplaces and knowledge as a result. So it's win, 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 win. Why wouldn't you be going there?
Interesting. Now, we spoke about vision today. That's just one small part in what we coach, and we always go with vision to start with.
Yeah.
But this is just part of mastery, and it's one quarter of mastery is destination.
Yeah.
And vision is a small part of destination.
Yeah. So that means we've got to talk about some other stuff next time. But for me, the obvious output of this is, guys, if you don't have a vision in your business, then it's time to go and write one. Even if it's to be the number one business doing what you do in whatever area you choose, at least get something where you can stick a stake in the ground and start talking to your team members and find out whether they're excited about being there. Because, whenever I coach vision with one of my clients, I always say to them, right, now you've written it, just as a matter of interest, on a scale of 1 to 10, how excited are you about that? And if they give me anything less than a 10, I go, well, if you're less than a 10, how the heck do you expect your team to be excited about it? They're always going to be less excited than you. They can't be more excited than you. So get excited about your own vision first and then talk to the team about it often. Yeah.
Great stuff. And look, for SME business owners that are listening out there, how many other of your competitors do you think actually think about this idea of vision? And bear in mind that this is just one small part.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah, well, straight away, you're ahead of the game just by having that vision in place.
Oh, completely. When we look at some of the results that clients have got as a result of starting to think about vision and what actions do I need to take now that I've actually crystallised that vision onto a piece of paper, some of the growth that we see as a result is huge.
Amazing.
Because they start thinking bigger than self. They stop thinking about the speed bumps and start thinking about being really committed to getting to where they said they wanted to go. So the speed bumps become inconsequential. If that's not a great enough reason to go write one, I don't know what is.
Okay, so for the listeners listening right now, if we haven't inspired you to go and write a vision, then we haven't done our job today. But for the listeners listening right now, how do they go and write this vision? What does a great vision look like for you? What would be the first steps for somebody creating a vision?
Well, I think it's back to what we talked about a while ago. If you look at your own personal journey, then you can probably see the values that are important to you. I talked about mine being balance and personal development and resilience. Mm-hmm. So those 3 core values for me combined together in terms of my vision. I've been fortunate enough to find something that I'm hugely committed to, that aligns with my values, that I can map into a vision. So maybe that's the first step. The other first step, if you're not that clear on your values and you can't make those links yet, because I must admit it did take me a while to make those links, is to just go, okay, well, look, what geographical area do I want to serve? And how do I want to be perceived? What's my purpose?
Yeah, it's really interesting sharing from my experience. So for all you guys listening out there, I used to be a client of Andy's, and Andy business coached me with my business. And we're talking 10 years ago now, before I was a coach. Yeah. And you always said to me, Andy, if you want to find your values, really think about what frustrates you. And I was really struggling to find values all the time. Oh, is this a value of mine, or is this a value of mine? You turned to me and you said, well, what really frustrates you? And I'm like, well, that's an easy one. This frustrates me. Bad customer service frustrates me. Yeah. So what is it about my business I'm going to make sure that my business lives by is that I have great customer service.
Yeah.
And that one value alone got taught throughout the company.
Yeah.
That the customer has great service every time.
Yeah.
Raving fans. Different topic. We'll talk about that in another episode.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a really good point, and it is much easier to think about what frustrates you and think of the opposite then, because that's your value. Yeah, great point. Good job for raising that one. So yeah, that'd be the key thing to me. But you see, the thing is, these things can evolve. It might not be perfect the first time you write it down, but it'll be better than you got now. So can always go back, and the team will get involved. I've got plenty of clients that when they start talking with their team about the vision evolves to a whole different level again. And that's the exciting part of it, because then you're getting leverage again, which is what we're talking about. Everybody's starting to become engaged with that vision on the same bus. That's where we need to be, isn't it? And by the way, the people who aren't engaged with your vision, find another bus.
They'll choose to find another bus.
In the most part, that's true.
And that's a win for both people.
Yeah, of course it is.
Yeah, you can't force somebody to be on your vision.
Yeah.
But if they're not aligned, they'll go and find what their vision. So you're doing everybody a favour.
Completely. Great.
Yeah. There's lots of value.
Okay, so if you're aligned with our vision of helping you perform better in your business, then we look forward to seeing you in episode 2. Otherwise, I'm guessing... hope you enjoyed this one, and good luck in your business.
And yeah, look, guys, we don't put any advertisements or anything on this. So the one cost that we do ask, though, is this stuff isn't for free. So here's our one cost. We ask you guys that are listening right now to share this with one other business owner that you would think that would get a lot of value from this podcast. So if you've been listening to this at any point and anybody springs to mind, then make sure you send the link to this podcast, and let's get them a part of your vision as well.
Absolutely, and you can help us achieve ours. So thank you in advance.